What's going on, everyone? Hope you're all doing well today. This is going to be take 3 of me recording this. The first time, I got distracted by something, so I stopped. The second time, I ran out of disk space, and I talked for a whole hour. And I was not happy when I found out that I had run out of disk space. So this is the third one. I'm going to be a little bit quicker about this. It's not going to be an hour long. But this is the 1.8 6 Mobs Pack update. What do I think about it so far? About half and half. That's generally what happens in alpha. Half and half on it. I'm gonna end up liking it. I always end up liking it, but there's some stuff that I do have a problem with. There's a lot of crashes right now. That's just how alpha works. I think it's good. I like all the new stuff that's in it. But some stuff that was rebalanced, I'm not kind of a fan of. And I'll give my opinions on that and how I change it and things like that. We'll jump around a little bit. The first thing that we're gonna start off with is the 6 new enemies. So these 6 enemies are really cool. There's three of them that are found throughout the game, and there's 3 of them that are biome specific. So I'll get into each one of them. So the first one is the Guardian, and I'm going to be talking about 4 and 5 BC just because I haven't seen, I don't play 0 to 3 BC and I haven't seen them. But 4 and 5 BC is the exact same gameplay. So Guardians are found in the prison depths, and in the ramparts, and in the sanctuary. And they're little short blue dudes. They're kind of cute. And they are shielded. So basically, when you hit them face up, when you hit them face on, basically what happens is that they will be shielded. So they won't take any damage. And they're actually going to be kind of impervious. And they kind of change their stance. So you break the shield, and they turn yellow. And then their attacks do a lot more damage, and their combo changes. So, let me take a sip of water real quick. So, when you don't break the shield, they have one attack, and it's just a normal little cleave sort of thing. They have an axe. Very easy to parry on the windup. When they turn yellow, when they break the shield, they do a lot more damage, and they're a lot faster. They'll run towards you, do all that good stuff. So, they do a 2-strike combo with the axe, and it's a lot faster, and once you get hit with one, you're getting hit with the other. And that is a little bit harder to parry. So that's that. They're typically found in prisoner quarters with the rats, the rancid rats. And they are little tiny enemies. They kind of work like weaver worms in that they apply melees, they have like the same damage output, they have the same amount of health, and they also count as part of a curse. So they are normal enemies. They are found in packs of 2 to 3, and they're found with mostly the new enemies, and they are in the toxic sewers, they are in the corrupted prison, and they are found in the prisoner quarters. They have a little jump attack, and they just smack you with the tail. The tail is what you can parry. I have not done that yet. I have a run that I'm going to upload. It's just your kind of generic survival build sort of thing. Just because that's just the easiest way to get through the levels and see all the enemies and all the new stuff. But yeah, that's the rat. The next one is the Weirded Warrior. They're little crabs. They are they are weird. So they have a dash attack. And the dash, they let out a yell right before dashing, and that's when you parry. They're very, very easy to parry once you get the timing down. And that's pretty much all they do. They are found in the ramparts and in the corrupted prison, from what I've seen. I have not been to any of the Bad Seed DLCs. None of the new enemies are in the Bad Seed DLC. So nothing in Morass, nothing in Arboretum. I have not been to Ossuary. I have not been to Promenade. And I have not been to Clock Tower or Caverns. But Caverns I don't think was touched. But the other 3 I have not been to yet. So they might be in those. I don't know. As far as new enemies in different biomes, I'll get into that in a little bit. But anyways, the Weirded Warrior, they are shielded when they see you, and they take less damage upon impact. Like, they'll have like their arms in a like X sort of shape, like CM Punk, and then they'll dash towards you, and at that point, right when they start dashing towards you, that's when they're vulnerable, and that's when you hit them. They're pretty fragile. They have about the same health as like bombardiers or knife throwers, so they're not that hard to kill. And then now there's 3 biome-specific enemies. The first one we'll cover is in the corrupted prison, and that is the toxic miasma. This is my favorite enemy of the 6 new enemies. One of my favorites in the entire game, honestly. It basically is Muck, the Pokemon Muck. the first gen Toxic Sludge, who's one of my favorite Pokemon of all time. It basically is a Dead Cells version of that. It has 2 attacks. So it has a bomb projectile that it just shoots at you. And the other one is that when you're close up to it, it'll curl up into a ball and shoot out a bunch, and it'll like let out a bunch of spikes from its body. And with the spike attack, it takes a while to do that. There's a little bit of a ring around it, and that's like where you're going to get hit. Extremely easy to parry both of those. Like, extremely easy. Once you figure out the timing, again, it's easy. Guardians, same thing. Timing is easy. But it is not easy with the Duelist, and I'll get into that in a second. But the other thing I wanted to say about the Toxic Miasma is that they teleport towards you regardless of the boss level that you're at. Because for those who know, in 4 to 5 BC, the majority of enemies will teleport towards you. There's certain exceptions like Arbiters and Inquisitors and stuff like that, but the Toxic Miasma works like the Rampager and the Dark Trackers and the Runners in that they will teleport towards you regardless. So they will kind of dissipate into the ground and then pop back up where you are. So I think that's a really cool addition to the game. And yeah, that is the Toxic Miasma. Duelists are found in the Sanctuary. They're like little angel dudes. They don't do much damage, but they have a 3-hit combo that is really, really difficult to parry. And that's because they jump back and jump forward a lot, and they take a long time to attack, and then they do attack, and then you can't parry it. It's a very bizarre hitbox. I think that's probably going to be significantly patched over the next few weeks. But they don't do too much damage. They're typically found with the Bombardiers and the Rampagers. And they are there after the doors are opened in the Sanctuary, after you activate the teleporter. Or not the teleporter, the switch. The next one up is the Corpulent Zombie, and that is found in the Sepulcher. And I actually really like this enemy. They add a fun new challenge to the game, but once you figure it out, they're actually quite easy. So the Corpulent Zombie will jump up and slam down, and once they slam down, they will just start hitting the ground like they're throwing a tantrum. So you cannot parry the slam attack, but you can parry the tantrum. I don't suggest doing that because you generally just dodge them. They have about the same health as like a failed experiment or pirate captain type of enemy. They are fairly bulky, but not overwhelmingly bulky. They're not too difficult, I would say, because they kind of telegraph their jump, and they take a long time to come down anyways. So just make sure you're not on a small platform with them. Make sure that you're on like a longer platform so you get enough time to dodge, and you can just kill them from there. So certain biomes did change in terms of the bestiary. So that is this one, this change. And Prisoner Quarters has the knife throwers again. I think that's a good change. I really like knife throwers. I think they add a fun challenge to the game. But speaking of knife throwers, they are now balanced in that... Yeah, knives throwers. They now always dodge or dash once before starting to attack you. So they do telegraph their attack now. 1BC players, you will get used to them. But they were already pretty easy to spot. But that's because I'm used to the game and I'm used to them. But for those who aren't used to them, they're pretty balanced now. The Sanctuary has Inquisitors. Sepulcher has Inquisitors. And anything else that I'm missing? I think that's it. So I wanted to take this opportunity to talk about this because I feel like this is a problem right now in Dead Cells where there's too many of one enemy in certain biomes. And there's 2 particular enemies that I'm talking about. And that's Failed Experiments and Inquisitors. Failed Experiments is less of an issue because I understand they're supposed to be like the 4BC, 5BC enemy. But it's kind of repetitive. And I get tired of seeing them over and over and over again. Which is why they took them out of Ossuary in 1.7. But Inquisitors is a big problem because the run that I'm going to upload soon, I took the Toxic Sewers route, and then I went to Corrupted Prison, and then Ramparts, and then Sanctuary, and then Sepulcher, and then the rest of the game. So, they are found in Prisoner Quarters, they're found in Toxic Sewers, they're not found in Corrupted Prison, they're in Ramparts, they're in Sanctuary, they're in Sepulcher, they're in Hype Castle. So out of the 7 biomes that I mentioned, they were in 6 of them. And they're not found in the 5BC spoil area, but we're not talking about that. So out of the 7 possible biomes, they were found in 6 on that route, which is an absolutely ridiculous number because Inquisitors aren't easy to Inquisitors are easy to kill and they're easy to parry and all that stuff, and they telegraph their attacks. And yeah, they can be annoying, but it's not so much the Inquisitors themselves, it's the repetitive nature of the Inquisitors. And the fact that they are found in 80-something% of the biomes in a particular route is a big problem. And it makes the game repetitive, and Dead Cells is all about repetition and getting your timing right. So the quality of life is kind of not good when it comes to like Inquisitors being in basically every biome. Like, I don't think that they should be spammed like this. And so here's how I would change them. I would keep them in prisoner quarters. I think they're fine there. I would keep them in ramparts. I would keep them in High Peak Castle. Those are the only 3 I would keep them in. I would take them out of Sanctuary, and I would take them out of Sepulchre. What I would replace them with is I would replace them with Arbiters in the Sanctuary. I think that Sanctuary is kind of designed to be the toughest biome out of the 3 fourth biomes. So that would be the Stilt Village, which is supposed to be the easiest, Graveyard, which is the second most difficult, and the Sanctuary, which is the most difficult because it doesn't have any health rooms. So like the health potions and stuff, there's no rooms for that. So I think Sanctuary is designed to be the most difficult, so make it the most difficult and put Arbiters there. If you want a projectile enemy, I think those are the perfect ones. What I would do is I wouldn't spam them everywhere, so I wouldn't have like 50 of them like there are 50 Inquisitors in a given biome. What I would do is I would put maybe like 6 or 7 of them before the doors open, pair them with the Bombardiers and the Kamikazes, and I would just do that. So with Sanctuary, before the doors open, right now it's Inquisitors, Bombardiers, Kamikazes, and Guardians. After the doors open, the Inquisitors are gone, Bombardiers are still there, Rampagers, Golems, Demons, all those guys, Kamikazes, they're all there, Protectors, and then the Duelist. Just replace the Inquisitors with the Arbiters, I think you're good to go. In Sepulchre, I would actually take a page out of the lower boss cells, and I would put Shockers instead of Inquisitors. And Shockers, I think, provide a challenging aspect to Sepulchre, because Sepulchre right now, even with the new enemy, it's way too easy. And I'm not just saying this because I'm an experienced player, because I take a lot of hits during my Dead Cells runs. Like, I suck in Caverns. Like, Caverns, I think, is a good difficulty, which they did change the difficulty. I'll talk about that in a second. But the Clock Tower, I think, has like a medium amount of difficulty because of the variety of enemies that are in that level. But Sepulchre has only a few enemies. It has the Dark Trackers, the Failed Experiments, Knife Throwers, Cleavers, Kamikazes, and now the Corpulent Zombies, 6 enemies. And, well, Inquisitors is 7. There's not much variety in the gameplay for Sepulchre, and it's entirely too easy. And Inquisitors doesn't really help that much. So to make it harder, adding Shockers provides like a new type of strategy, especially because there's a curse chest that you can get 3 BC onwards, and Shockers make that more difficult. So yeah, add Shockers. Corrupted Prison, I'm undecided on what to put there. I think it's a challenging enough level. I think you can leave Inquisitors in there. If it were up to me, I would put Knife Throwers there. That's because I don't think there are enough Knife Throwers in the game. Right now, they're only in Prison Depths, or Prisoner Quarters. They are in Prison Depths, and in Stilt. And I think they could use one more biome. And I would think that Corrupted Prison would be an adequate one for them to be at. But yeah, that's all the new stuff with all the new biomes and all the new enemies. We are going to talk about now the 2 new items. So for those of you who have already seen the Crowbar video that I posted, this is a repetition, but basically Crowbar has been added to the Bad Seed DLC, but it is also a part of the alpha. It comes from a lore room in the Prisoner Quarters, so once you unlock that, you can turn in your cells, get the Crowbar. What it does is that when you break items and when you break doors, you'll start getting crits. This also applies to the Ram Room. That technically counts as a door when you use the Ram Room on like a platform that technically is a door. So the crit damage is really good. Even the regular damage is pretty good. It's an extremely fast weapon. I love it. I think it's a fantastic weapon. I am going to include this in the tier list that I'm about to start working on for 1.7. I think it's a very, very good weapon, honestly. It's very easy to get crits. It has a synergy-based item in the portable door. And you may be wondering, how is the synergy? Because the crowbar is brutality and the portable door is tactics, but I'll talk about that in a second. But the portable door is you get a door with you, and it splits the platform into two. So you place a door, and you will be basically shielded from all enemies. So it's a very, very like defensive item. It's pure tactics. It kind of works with that like stealth sort of thing that I like in tactics. They started off with that with the smoke bomb, and I like to see that sort of thing. I want to see that stuff continue with tactics. I think it brings a new element to the gameplay in tactics, and it's a lot more interesting. Portable doors synergizes well with a lot of tactics weapons. The best one that I've seen is the blowgun and the assassin's dagger, because on 4 and 5 BC, when enemies teleport, they will teleport behind you, and then you can get a crit off. So the door, when you place it, it splits it into two, the platform into two, so enemies will actually end up teleporting towards you, which means you can get a lot of hits off with items like the assassin's dagger and blowgun. It synergizes well with the crowbar, obviously, so you can run like an off-stat portable door, or you can run a colorless build. Basically, you just place the door, break it, get a bunch of crits for 8 seconds, then you're set. I really like it. I think the door is fantastic. Other stuff, Half-Life Diet. I don't really know what Half-Life is. I know it's a video game, but I don't really play that many. I don't play that many video games. My game palette is very weird. Like, I'll make a video where I talk about my game palette. New lore rooms and new secrets with Arboretum and Morass. That's cool. No new mobs in the Bad Seed, but the numbers have been tweaked, so there aren't 200 enemies in the Arboretum and 200 enemies in the Morass anymore. Thank God. Bad Seed stuff, so Blueprint drop chances of the new items lowered. I think that's good, but it doesn't apply to me because I already got all the items, and the items, I got them pretty much all on the first try. Cavern mobs, health and damage all lowered in all difficulties, so Caverns is a little bit easier. I think this is good. Slammers and the Ground Shakers, which are the Rhino guys. Slammers are the Bluebirds. They had too much health in Caverns, and now that they're down, I think that works out very nicely. As a tactics player, doesn't really make a difference because tactics is already super glass cannon, but I could see it being useful on brutality and survival. Mushroom Boy breaks invisibility on attack. That's a good change. Tick side hitboxes to better hit downwards. That's a good change. Tick now bumps slightly on attacks. That's a good change. And Tick now drops 5 solid gold upon death. So when they refer to ticks, they're referring to the giant tick, not Mama Tick. They're referring to the giant tick, which is the mini boss found in the Morass. The one with like 70 different types of attacks. Improved jerk shroom throwing to prevent direct hits from below. It's a good change. Throwing jerk shrooms no longer hurt you when colliding in the air. So you can jump in the air and not get hit by the jerk shrooms now. That frequently happens to me, so I'm happy. We discussed knife throws already. Added protection to a player when jumping down from platforms to avoid taking a hit. So I'll give you an example. So a few videos ago, I was fighting Hand of the King, and then the elite mob came, and I killed everyone but the cleaver, the axe throwing guy. So I was on the platform, I wanted to jump down, and the cleaver hit me as I was jumping down, and there was no way for me to avoid it. So now adding protection means that I won't get hit when he throws that at me. So I like that change a lot. Frozen enemies are now interrupted in their attacks. So Slasher or Failed Experiment is mid-combo, and you freeze them, they'll restart the combo. I don't know if this applies to elites or not. I think it does. This is really good, but this also completely changes something for me personally, because I was actually working on a freeze guide. For those of you who saw my Crowbar run, the beginning portion, I was actually working on a freeze build, on a freeze guide. That has been indefinitely delayed to when the beta is released, because freezing has completely changed with the ice shield and just freeze in general and ice armor. So I got to take all that, and basically I can only address it when the beta is released. So sorry for those of you who I told it was going to be released in the next couple days, but I've made a decision that I cannot release it in good conscience right now. I got to wait till later. Delta Orb damage cap is gone. That's good. Marksman bow has damage affixes, so like poison, burn, that sort of thing. Ice armor now gives damage reduction. That's another thing that changed, which is forcing that my delay of the freeze build, or the freeze guide. Ice armor and ice shield can no longer have affixes, which break the ice immediately. So no bleed, no poison, none of that crap. The nest which is where you fight Mama Tick, it's now right to left instead of left to right. Nothing else really changes though. Like the fight's still the same. Anything else that I want to talk about? Rhythm and Bazooki has changed. So now when you strike, there will be like little musical notes that appear. And they'll be red, yellow, or green. And that basically tells you the timing. And you can figure out the timing. So green means good timing. Red means bad timing. And, I'm sorry, I got a text from my dad. Anyways, so yeah. Rhythm and Bazooki is a little bit easier to time now. It was already an incredibly powerful weapon, so it's even better now. Teleporters in Morass and Clock Tower will activate from further away to avoid useless backtracking. So what they mean by that is that probably a lot of you already do this, but in Clock Tower, between towers, there was a teleporter and like an empty pathway. And what we do sometimes is that we'll go all the way to the teleporter, activate, and go back into the tower and finish up the tower and then go back to that original teleporter. Now the teleporter will activate from within that tower, and then you should be fine. You don't have to go all the way to the teleporter and all the way back. Same thing in Morass. And in Morass, sometimes I forget to turn on the teleporter, and I'll go all the way up and to the right, and then I'll realize, oh crap, I didn't turn on the teleporter, and I have to go all the way back, and it takes like 3-4 minutes, and it's annoying. So, good to see that change. Mod stuff. But for those of you who are interested in mod content, follow HyperStypherX. So that's HyperStypherX on Twitch. Twitch.tv/HyperStypherX. He does a lot of mod stuff. He's really, really cool with that. Great streamer, great guy. Definitely give him a follow. So clarify what went wrong in the error report. Okay, yeah. It can no longer grab ledges leading directly to spikes. So you won't, like if there's like a spike ledge up above you, you're not going to be able to grab it, which is good. So this last part, Enigma doors are now always open. So Enigma doors are like the promenade, that little part where you can get the explosive crossbow blueprint with the rose keys. So that's always open once you solve it. The secret blueprints, so like the one in Graveyard with the merchandise category, where you get the architect's key, and the promenade one again with the explosive crossbow, and then the acceptance in High Peak Castle. They have gems once you get the blueprint. Those are gone, but the gold is unchanged, so that's good. Yeeter's hitbox has changed. This is okay. So these are the last two things that I want to talk about. So for those of you who are on Twitch, they have fixed the dual scrolls transforming into triple scrolls when nobody voted. So for those of you who don't know, Twitch integration basically has this thing where chat can vote on the scroll when you pick it up. And if it's a dual stat scroll like Brutality Tactics, so the Assassin scroll, chat can vote Brutality or Tactics, but if nobody votes, then it turns into a triple scroll. So you can cheese this and then end up with pretty much a broken damage count. They have fixed this issue. Magic Missiles and Pyrotechnics. So what happened was, in 1.5, what they did was make Magic Missiles and Pyrotechnics always shoot when you hold down the button. And that's a good change, but the problem was, even if you just tap the button, it would shoot out twice, which would mess you up when you're trying to run against walls. So when you run against walls, you do something called attack canceling. And if you attack cancel with the Magic Missiles or Pyrotechnics, like you couldn't. You straight up just couldn't do that. So it provided a lot of issues, especially when trying to escape mobs and things like that. So that has been fixed. So now when you tap them, they'll strike once. When you hold it down, they'll strike a bunch of times. So that is all the changes with the 1.8 alpha, the 6 mobs pack. I think besides the failed experiments and Inquisitors being like literally everywhere, I think that it's a good start. A lot of crashes so far though. I had like 4 or 5 crashes. It really comes down to deployables. So that's stuff like the Wolf Trap and the Trap Door and the Crusher and things like that. Those are super buggy right now because of the new affixes, I'm guessing. So they'll probably patch that in the next update. But this is the intro to the 1.8 update. I like all the new enemies. They'll probably end up fixing the Duelists significantly. They'll probably fix all the enemies at some point anyways. So yeah. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Leave a like. Subscribe for more Dead Cells content. I'll see you guys in the next one. I have a lot of stuff planned out for the channel. So be on the lookout for a bunch of new videos in the next couple days. And leave a like, subscribe, leave a comment, what you think of the new patch for those of you who have played it, and for those of you who haven't played it, what you personally want to see. I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a great night, everybody.